Are you recording this, Susan? Oh yeah, I see it. Are there people still coming in? You're on mute.
Susan, how's it look for the waiting room?
I've admitted everyone that was on there, so I'll continue to monitor it and let people in as they come on.
Okay, I'll just start then because I don't want to take out it's dinner time. I know y'all are busy. All right, so thank you guys for coming. We really appreciate you guys listening in to our toolbox. We're basically just going to be talking about our toolbox stuff, how we manage our emotions with it, kind of what we do, what classrooms we're going into. You can switch it. All right, so I'll go first. I'm Sarah Chandler. I'm the school counselor at Jamaica and Havasupai Elementary. What we do individual counseling. We do some group counseling. We do our SEL in the classroom, social emotional learning. And that's what we do with our toolbox. We have a lot of collaboration with parents, staff, just all of that stuff. So Susie, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Susie Martin, and I am the school counselor at Oro Grande Classical Academy and Starline Elementary. And the things that I do are similar, obviously, to what Sarah said. And of course, we're starting the programs this year. So we're getting everything up and running.
All right, I'm Marty Miller. I'm the school counselor at Smoke Tree Elementary and Nautilus Elementary. As you can probably guess at this point, some of my job duties are very similar to Sarah and Susan. I also have, some of you might have recognized me or seen some videos on some class dojo that I put together for parents, trying to get some more information out there about the toolbox. And one of the things that we want to do, and that's why we're so happy to have parents join us, is not only are these tools useful in the home or in the school, but we also think they could be useful in the home, and hope parents can find some tools that they think would help their children in the home and the community settings as well.
All right, so these are our 12 toolbox tools that we will be learning about. Obviously, because we are starting the half of the year, we won't be able to get all of these taken care of this year. Hopefully next year we should have a lot, but even, you know, the creator of Toolbox was saying it's not how many you do, it's what you're teaching and making sure that the students are understanding what we are teaching. And so we will get through as many as we can, but we do want to make sure that those kiddos understand these tools. You know, these tools are all within each of us. And so we'll explain that a little bit later. So the breathing tool, this is the first tool that we are doing in the classrooms. And we can use this tool at home, we're using this tool at school, we can use this tool in restaurants, we can use this tool at the park. And that's really important. What we're trying to teach the kiddos and the parents as well is that these tools can be used anywhere, anytime. And so, you know, the concept of the breathing tool, it makes us calm, right? It brings us relaxation. I even tell the kids, you know, I know it sounds silly, you know, we know how to breathe, but this is really, you know, mindful breathing. You know, we're breathing slowly. And like I said before, you know, the tools are within all of us. And so when we understand a tool and we learn how to use it appropriately, we can use it anytime we need it. I feel like I should give you a cue, Susie.
Are we good, or you want me to
Yeah,
advance?
yeah. I'll do like this or something. You can turn the.
Okay, perfect.
There we go. So this is a practice. So this is how we're breathing in the classroom. And we're not a fish, but it's a good reminder to breathe slowly. We really want to focus on our inhales, our exhales. Hopefully it'll play. But this is a really cute video that you can even show at home. A lot of teachers are showing this actually now in their classrooms. They can have a little breathing exercise with the students. But it really shows you that it's, you know, it's slow, deliberate breathing. And I make the correlation, like, you know, when our bodies get really angry, when we, you know, we're feeling frustrated or we're crying, right? Like our bodies get hot sometimes, our heart is beating super fast. And so this will kind of allow us to get back into that calm, relaxed state. And we're also telling the kiddos too, you know, when we are angry, sometimes we want to hit something. Sometimes we want to lash out and say mean things. But, you know, when we take a step back, we take our deep breaths, we find that we respond a little bit better. You can skip that. Oh. there we go. Oh, the other one. There's one before it. Yeah, I think, is there one before this one too? Nope, all right. So there's symbols for each of the tools that we're learning. And so this one is a measuring tape, and it's pretty important. Like, you know, I always ask the kids, like, why do you think they put this for this tool? Some of them get it right. Some of them, you know, have really creative ideas. And then we tell them, so the measuring tape, the gesture, right? If you're opening out a measuring tape, you're measuring something, you take it out, you put it back in. So the hand gesture is you place your, you know, your thumbs together and you're pulling out the tape, and that will actually measure your breathing. And so we'll practice and do breathe in and breathe out. And so every time we end our lessons, we take a few deep breaths together as a class. They're invited to do the hand gesture if that helps them visualize it a little bit more. We also have, we can have their put their hand over their heart, one hand on their belly. They can feel their heart rate slow down. They can feel their belly expand. And then I think the thing was for their belly to feel like a balloon, right? So when you breathe out or breathe in, your belly gets like a balloon, and then you breathe out and you push all the air out. And you can go ahead. And then there's just some things, you know, that we want to remember. It's okay to feel things, right? Emotions are natural. It's okay to be mad. It's okay to be upset and angry, frustrated, or really, really excited. And like I said before, it's just how we respond that makes all the difference. So what we're doing with these tools is we are sending home connection papers and sheets that are really important. It explains to you, the parents, what we're teaching in the schools, what we're doing in the classrooms, and then it also gives you guys an opportunity to do some activities at home with your students as well. And then there, for each of our tools, there's a tagline. And so for the breathing tool, it's I calm myself and check in. And so with these, we have the students repeat them back to us. They can, you know, if they ever need to, they can also repeat that to themselves or to their teachers. And then
Is there light?
And then, you know, we calm our bodies and then we check in with our emotions. So that's pretty much the breathing tool in a nutshell. I don't know if there's another one. We can turn it. Okay.
So moving on, the next tool that we teach the kids in the sequence is called the Quiet Safe Place tool. And the tagline is, I remember my quiet safe place. And the person who, the founder, creator of this toolbox curriculum is quoted there on the screen that once we have a place of solace, safety, and quiet, then creativity, imagination, and self-expression emerge naturally. And I would probably add, then we can learn things, whether we're learning academics or social emotional learning. And we may need this place to feel safe if we're worried or we're fearful, there's lots of noise, something is overwhelming us. We could use the breathing tool and we would teach that to the students, like Sarah said, but we can also teach them that we can go to a quiet place to calm and soothe ourselves and quiet ourselves. Oops. So, oh boy, I'm doing great. So what we do is work with students and help them understand that there are two different quiet, safe places. And one would be a real quiet, safe place that exists at home and at school. A lot of students tell me it's their bedroom. A few of them have a place outside, but we talk about that that's a place where they can go. And then we also talk about this imagined quiet, safe place. And we ask them to imagine a place where they feel safe and then all the feelings that they have when they're there. And there are materials that we got with the curriculum that we can help them sit quietly and then think of this safe place and what they're feeling, what they're smelling, what they see, what they hear. And of course, we want them to understand when it's appropriate to use a quiet, safe place and why they're doing it. What I emphasize with the students is that the reason we're teaching the tools is to help make their lives easier. So we started with real tools and how they make our lives easier. Like it's easier to hammer something with a hammer than with a rock. So that's why, you know, people created tools over the years. And the tools we're showing them can make it easier for them. If they need a place to go and quiet down, then we're teaching them those two separate places. Also that it's individual. So some of the younger kids will have a little bit trouble because when they start talking about their quiet, safe place, they kind of want it to be the same as other people's. And I try to emphasize that it's individual, this quiet, safe place you're creating, because what's relaxing to one person may not be relaxing to another. And then that it can change. So you don't always have to have the same place. But we talk about the fact that this quiet, safe place is a place you can go no matter where you are, and that your mind thinking of the quiet, safe place can relax your body. So worry and anxiety is a good example to use with that, so that they understand if they're having those feelings of their heart beating faster and things like that, that it can help. And then, as already been emphasized, that the tools are inside of us. So no one has to come and give you this tool to use it. If you need to go to a quiet, safe place, you can just imagine it. The tool that is for the quiet safe place is a set of headphones, and the hand gesture looks like this. So the kids just put, you know, their hands on their ears like this to go to their quiet safe place. And it helps us concentrate, blocking out noise. That's why it's the tool. I talk to students about the hand gesture and when it's appropriate. So we discuss if an adult is walking up to you in school and you're sitting at your desk, it's probably not a good time to go like this because someone's trying to talk to you. But some teachers can work it out with the students that if they're needing that, then they would use that gesture. And again, the tagline is, I remember my quiet, safe place. If you wanted to use it in a real life situation, if a child's showing worry, emotions like fear or worry about going somewhere, and I was thinking about, different children have different situations. So maybe they're worried about going to an appointment or somewhere new. It's important to first try and help them use their words to describe how they feel, because expressing feelings and recognizing those are the first step to using the tools. And we work with students, we're working with our students on identifying feelings beyond just mad, sad, and happy. It depends on the edge of the child. And then teach them that they can go to this quiet, safe place. They can close their eyes, or they could focus their eyes on one area and imagine that quiet, safe place. And the more they do it, the more they practice it, the more it can help them. I gave an example of if you don't care for going to the dentist, maybe when you're lying in the dental chair, you could go to your quiet, safe place and think about that while you're having dental work done. That was just one example. I'll let Marty take over on listening.
All right. So the third tool that we teach is the listening tool. And I think we'd all like to think we're really good listeners, but I think we all know we have a lot of distractions in our lives sometimes. And sometimes it's really hard to be a good listener. So I think most people would agree that, of course, we need to listen with our ears, and kids can easily tell you that. But we also kind of go over how helpful it is to listen with your eyes. By looking at the person who's talking, it lets that person know that you're paying attention to them and that that's important. Also, as adults, we know it's not very helpful to interrupt others and that we need to try to keep quiet while others are speaking. Our younger ones sometimes have trouble with those blurts and like to just say what thoughts they're having or not wait till their teacher calls on them with their hand raised. So this is a good opportunity to start using the listening tool. But we kind of go deeper and try to figure out for the kids, help them understand why or how is it important to listen with your heart. And obviously it must be important because the listening tool symbol is the heart. And so we talk about how listening tool, teaching kids to listen with their eyes, ears, and heart. That shows the speaker who's talking that we care if we are listening with our heart and we're trying to understand what the speaker is trying to tell us. The listening tool highlights the importance of accurately trying to read the signals and the words of others. And so it's also paying attention to not just the information our ears hear, but what's going on right now with the speaker. What else is going on besides just the words, and watching the facial gestures, listening to the tone sometimes can tell us a lot. That we also are looking for those body language signs that tell us things that are unspoken. And so that's kind of listening with the heart. And we try to get kids to understand that, which is important for later when we teach them the empathy tool. So remembering to use our hearts to allow us to notice what the other person is feeling will eventually help them understand empathy and how to kind of stand in someone else's shoes. Go ahead, Susie. The listening with one's heart is also key to strong relationships and that conflict resolution. We want to start to teach kids how to work through some of those problems that they have with other students, maybe with even their teacher as they get a little older, and certainly even the parents and siblings at home. We all have and will come across conflicts in our lives, and we still as adults come into conflict with others in our lives. So we need to go first by modeling to our kids. Are we being good listeners when they're telling us something that's going on? We're sometimes busy cooking dinner and shuffling kids around and dropping kids off. And sometimes we have to pause and stop and model for our kids that we can really be good listeners and not try to multitask too much when they're telling us something important and they need our help. Listening with one's heart teaches that empathy. And so again, is what I heard already Susie and Sarah talk about. Super important that they identify not only their own feelings, but we want to also start to teach them how to listen and try to understand what the other person might be feeling, especially in a conflict situation. The listening tool is also important and one of the key tools that we need to learn and help the children do well. Because if we become good listeners, the remaining tools that we're going to teach the kids become much, much easier. The ability to listen is naturally within each of us. And also when we take some slow, deep breaths, or maybe go to that quiet, safe place inside us, the listening can become easier too. And we try to help the kids understand this. And sometimes we all need to, as adults, again, we need to sometimes take some deep breaths, slow down, take a minute and decide what to do next and how we can stop and pause and listen. So listening actively means we are committed to really understanding what our child is trying to communicate. Beneath, again, just the words, the tone, the volume, the behavior. So when people are in conflict, one of the most common statements heard is that one of the persons did not feel truly heard. And so when we use the listening tool and its practice, goodwill is fostered and understanding becomes easier. Susie, next. The tagline for the listening tool is, I listen with my eyes, ears, and heart. The hand gesture, it's pretty simple for this one. You literally just take your index finger and your ring finger, put them together, and then just kind of tap 2 times behind your ear. So that's the symbol for listening with your eyes, ears, and heart. So teachers can do that as a hand gesture if they need to kind of remind some of those students who are maybe off task a little bit and getting a little rowdy, or maybe you're doing some blurts, that they need to just listen with eyes, ears, and heart. And that comes from, many of you might have a carpenter in your family or have even used this old school technique where you tap on the wall to find a stud. That's kind of where this symbol comes from. And the carpenters would have to listen really carefully and tap along the wall and listen to the hollow points until they hit that stud. And then they knew that's where they could drive in a nail. So that's the listening hand gesture. And again, it's very helpful to just use that if kids are interrupting the speaker, once everybody in the classroom understands what that means. And hopefully that will remind that student to hold their thoughts and wait until they're called upon. Next, Susie. So a couple of suggestions for you to use at home is remind all family members that it's important to listen with eyes, ears, and heart. You can maybe ask your child, once you know that this listening tool has been taught to them, that you can ask them, what is the tagline? And hopefully they can tell you, listen with your eyes, ears, and heart, and maybe even the hand gesture. So you can reinforce that at home. You can also work with your child to, again, help them name the feelings beneath what they're saying. And so, you know, give them some of those words that maybe they haven't figured out yet, that gosh, it looks like you might be really angry, or I don't know, is there some frustration under that anger? Or your feelings hurt? Try to kind of help them start identifying what those feelings are. As mentioned, the parent letters go home as well, so you can kind of check those out and see what new tools being introduced to your child, and then help them with the home connection activity sheet. They're just pretty simple little activities and ideas, again, to help reinforce that new tool, and everybody in the family may be learning the tool too, so it can be used well. And again, can't emphasize enough, modeling good behavior for our kids is so crucial. Kids listen to us, they hear our words, but more times than not, they mimic what they see. And so if you're modeling for them how to do deep breathing, do some quiet, safe place moments, and being that active, good listener, then they're going to hopefully pick up on that same good modeling. So yeah, again, many kids just don't have the words yet. And so you see the behaviors, you can tell when your child's mad, sad, frustrated, upset, angry, but try to get them to slow down, take some deep breaths, and see if they can tell you what their feelings are. And if they can't, help them maybe name those feelings. And sometimes it helps for our kids to know that we have bad days too. And so letting our kids know that we have feelings as well. Our feelings get hurt. We get mad, we get sad. And so when you're having some of those big feelings, share with your child that this is how you are feeling. And that gives them permission to know they can have those feelings too, but we can figure out what to do with those feelings, and make choices that aren't going to get us into hopefully some type of trouble. All right, Susie, next. All right, so we're going to kind of wrap up for this parent workshop with just these 3 tools tonight in the interest of time. And we did show the screen or the video slide earlier that had all 12 tools. And as Sarah mentioned, we'll get through as many as we can this year, but they'll continue to be brought up each year, brought into the classroom again and re-emphasized. And as Susie mentioned, in each grade level, developmentally, the kids are at a little different place. So these lessons change year to year, depending on what grade level and age your child is. But the first 3 tools introduced this evening, the breathing tool, the quiet safe place tool, and the listening tool, they really are the foundation for these remaining tools. It's what we call the gateway tools. So we do spend quite a bit of time kind of making sure these are really solid and grounded with the kids, because it's kind of hard to do some of the other tools later if you aren't good at these first 3. And so there is a lot of repetition and opportunity for us to reinforce these again and again. Once they identify, or excuse me, once they get this self-mastery of using these tools, that starts to help them learn self-control and self-discipline. And it feels good for the kids to start figuring out they can actually solve some of their own problems sometimes. They don't always have to run to the adult, that they can control some of their emotions in their body and not lash out or say that mean thing. And so that is important, and it helps them start to feel control over their desires, their emotions, and sometimes even their impulses. So we hope you guys have a little better concept of some of the tools that we are teaching, and we hope that they are useful for you as well in other settings besides the school. And then we'll continue to introduce some of the other tools later to the parents. But again, we knew we couldn't sit here tonight and get all 12 tools in. It would just be impossible, and that would probably be tool overload anyway. So we'll kind of open it up for some questions, some comments. And so I think we'll check the chat room. I'll take a look here.
Yeah, you guys can type it into the chat too if you don't want to.
Okay.
We had a question. How are the students in your schools responding to these tools? So I'm teaching the tools to kindergarten, first and second graders at my schools, and they're receptive. We've just begun. So getting them to use the tools in real life situations is yet to come, but they seem receptive and enthusiastic.
I've got a lot of students, every time we start a new lesson for the week, I ask them if they've been using the tool that we're learning. Some of them are honest and say no, and it's very much appreciated. And others, they do use it. I even had parents emailing teachers, and the teachers have reported back to me that they're using it at home when they need to. There's a lot of sibling rivalry going on. And so they've been learning, and they've also been teaching like their older siblings, especially if they're at the same school, they're not getting the toolboxes yet. It's just K-2. And so they have an opportunity to teach parents how to do it, and cousins and siblings and all that good stuff.
Yeah, similar for me. The kids, some pick it up really quick and they're excited and they want to go try it out. Some kids, it's taking a little longer to kind of grasp the concept, but I think we can all just look at math and spelling and science and writing, and some of us grasp some of those things quickly, and some of us need a little more time to pick up some of those new concepts, and that's okay. And I'm grateful too. When I had a little guy in my room today, and we've learned several of the tools, and he told me about a situation where he got upset, and he goes, I tried that breathing thing in that quiet, safe place. He goes, but I was still feeling pretty frustrated. And I said, oh yeah. And he goes, but I felt a little less frustrated. And so that's perfect. We want them to just start kind of grasping that they do have the power and the control within themselves to start taking charge of some of their emotions.
Yeah, and that's great. Carly said that her kindergartner has been telling her about the breathing tool, and he seems to really understand it. And that's really exciting for us because, like I said earlier, like we're not trying to rush through these tools. Like there's a lot that goes into the tools, and we go into the classrooms, and so we really only have 20 or 30 minutes to have them do an activity, have them, practice with us, have them, work together as a whole, and then really like understand it and take that home and use it as well. So that's really cool.
So I want to take this question, ladies, because it kind of ties right in with Mr. Berger's comments as well, who's the principal at Nautilus. The question is, when children encounter a behavior issue at school, are these tools being used? Screen jumped on me. Being used to address the actions? Is this the idea? If so, I love the concept. Yes, you're spot on. So Roger is learning the tools just along with the rest of us. And when kids get sent down to the principal's office, and I know the other principals do this too in other schools, is they kind of find out what happened, where did things kind of go sideways and get off track, and then ask the student, well, gosh, what tool could you maybe have used in that situation? If this comes up again, what tool could you try? And then, of course, some of the tools we learn later are apology and forgiveness tool. Sometimes the students recognize they might need to go back and apologize to someone. Or the garbage can tool. Sometimes you just need to let it go. If a kid called you a not nice name and you spouted off back and pushed the kid, okay, maybe your garbage can tool would have been really helpful to have just kind of let that one go, throw it away, and move on. And so we definitely reflectively use these tools to have kids self-reflect and figure out, how can I do this better next time?
There's another question. Somebody asked for the safe place. It seems a little bit antisocial. And when I first saw it too, I'm like, okay, so they, get to go in a corner and like, do this. I don't know, Susie, if you want to expand on that. I haven't done that one yet.
Yeah, so the concept behind the quiet, safe place is that if we're in a situation that's overwhelming, we're overwhelmed with noise or emotion, and we can't concentrate, or you know, it's something that's unsettling to us, either physically or emotionally, that we can go somewhere and calm down. And honestly, the goal would be, especially for children that become overwhelmed and then disruptive, that they would remove themselves before they get to the place where they start being disruptive. So some children, when things get really exciting and something's happening and there's a lot of noise and everything, and then they might not be able to handle it, I guess is one way to say it. So they could either physically go to a quiet, safe place and just quiet down and relax for a minute, or they could go to the quiet, safe place they've imagined and then be able to come back to the situation. So the goal isn't for them to completely leave, but to come back. And it is not simple to explain always, but we were talking in a class, I don't remember the grade level, but they were just like, when would you be in a place that's so noisy and overwhelms you? Just that. Or a situation maybe where there are a lot of kids playing some kind of game or something, and they just, it upsets them. And we would hope that the child could go to the quiet, safe place before they get overwhelmed and become a disruption.
Yeah, and this, I mean, this could also be like, you know, if the classroom is doing something together and it's really loud, like, you know, they can go to like one of the middle pods and sit at the table, or if they want to go to the reading area, they can go sit quietly. And I think to kind of piggyback what you were saying, like a lot of kids they can't really process, like it's too overwhelming for their bodies. Like they literally can't function when they're in that type of situation. And so that's when this tool would really be helpful for them.
And I'll give you an example at home. So I remember growing up, I have 4 brothers, and the car rides would be quite loud and noisy and chaotic. And remember, I grew up in the era where we didn't have seat belts by law. So we were all over the back of that station wagon, and it would sometimes be overwhelming, you know, to just loud noises, voices, kids screaming. And so you can't actually get out of the car at that moment. You need to get to your destination. You can help your child learn how to go to that quiet place in their mind and try to just kind of tune out a little bit and think about things that make them feel calm and safe and happy. And it would be a quiet, safe place that you've already discussed with your child, and so they can know to go right there in their mind, and just kind of gives them a little bit of a brain break from all the noise and the chaos that's kind of audibly going on around them. I could have used it in that station wagon. I wish I knew the quiet, safe place back then.
And there was a comment that that quiet, safe place could also be a desk or table on the outskirts of a classroom. So if a student is overwhelmed within the classroom with something that's going on, and there's a designated place for them to go, and that's to help them, again, so they don't become overwhelmed.
Yeah, they can use their breathing tool. Go have their safe place and then be able to rejoin everybody.
And thank you, Corey, for the other example is they might feel frustrated with something academically, and they need to have some time to regroup and then come back and move forward. So that's would be the goal for them to understand when they're starting to get frustrated, that they don't get to a point where they're disruptive to the whole class, but they could actually signal the teacher or ask the teacher to go to the quiet, safe place if it's physical, and, you know, calm down, quiet down, and then come back to do their schoolwork.
Yeah, and not every kid needs all these tools all the time. Some kids are really already have great coping skills, and they can push through whatever's going on and stay focused. And so some of these kids, students that we're working with, may very seldom need some of these tools, and that's okay. But some of our other kids come from different environments or have different challenges. So the concept of the tools is for the kids, once they learn all 12, they're going to pick from their toolbox which one of the 12, 1 or 2 tools will help them in each situation. And that is going to look different each kid and each situation.
Yeah. I think if there's no more questions, do you want to explain the lanyard, Susie, that teachers and that we have, or just show it, I guess? So this lanyard that we have, it has all of the 12 tools on it. And so teachers are supposed to be wearing it, or at least displaying it in the classroom. But if the student ever, needs to, that they can go up to the teacher and say, I need to use my breathing tool. Can you do it with me? I need to go to my quiet, safe place. I need to use the garbage can tool. Just whatever tool they need. So that way it's kind of like a reminder, I feel like. But we have those.
And I think it's important for parents to know that the goal is that the whole school campus, the staff, we're talking cafeteria, the classroom, the recess, the hallways, that all staff will know these tools. So it doesn't matter where the conflict or the problem situation arises, whatever staff is available and present can help the child resolve that problem, if possible right there, or if not right there, at least in the very near future. And so that it's kind of campus wide known what the 12 tools are, and anybody in the adult in the staff roster can assist the kids.
And just adding on to that, we've talked about a little bit, is the idea that everyone has the tools, and then when there is a conflict between children, or a child is sent to the principal's office, or a child's in the hallway that I'm talking to, the idea is we ask them, which tools could you be using right now? And then assist and help them in using the tools. But they understand that they have choices and they have, I guess, control in the situation, and that they can choose to do something themselves. They don't have to have someone else do something, and that would empower them, and then that helps towards resilience and being able to carry that into their future. So they have talked to kids that were taught the tools when they were very young, and now they're young adults, and there's different videos on their website you can watch about that, but that they carry it into their future and use it as adults, and then hopefully teach their own children.
Yeah, and it's definitely not limited to the classroom. We want them to be able to use this and remember to use this when they're at a restaurant and they're hungry and they're impatient, because we do have a patience tool, or they're at the park and they have to wait for the turn for the swing, or, they're having an issue at dad's house with siblings, and just kind of, they can teach them how to, what they're learning and things. So we want this to be used everywhere, anytime they need it.
And again, the adults, we should be using these tools too.
Yes.
And I will throw myself under the bus. I had a student who I was supposed to bring a little Hot Wheel car to at the end of the school yesterday. Promised him I'd meet him out front. Another student came in right before the bell rang, and I didn't feel I could walk away from that student. So I did not get that little Hot Wheel out to that little guy. And he was sure to find me the next day and say, hey, I couldn't find you. I was looking for you. And so I got my lanyard out, showed him my apology and forgiveness tool, and said that I did mess up. I didn't forget about him, but I had another situation that came up. And so I had to kind of break that promise. And I apologized for making him wait, but that was also a great opportunity for him to use his patience tool and try to see what was going on. And so those are just real life scenarios that we as adults sometimes need to pause and be like, gee, what tool could I use right now too? And take a moment to explain to our children how we as adults still, these are really important tools to just live life with. And I think we'd all use the courage tool, because this is not our cup of tea, is doing these webinars live. So the three of us ladies also had to use our courage tool tonight, because this is very new, and we're stretching and growing along with our students.
Yeah, it's been really cool learning about these tools with the students. A lot of the times, the kids think we already know what we're doing. We know these things, but I made sure to tell them. I told the teachers, like, we are learning together. This is a building, building thing. So we'll get there, I think.
So we did have some more comments about from the principals who are using the tools, and we hope that continues and we can have this school-wide. We do have materials out and expect materials sent home like we've already talked about. We thank everyone for joining us. We're all have contact information on our web pages, or you can call the schools if you need us or want to talk with us about any questions you have. If there are more details you'd like to know, please just contact us and let us know.
And if all goes well, we did record this. So we will also get that posted out there. So if you have other parents or friends that you thought this might be useful for them to watch the video as well, we'll try to get that finished up and posted, and that way we can keep spreading the word.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone.